The morning the saws came, I thought it was a bad dream until the sky split open and a roar filled the cul-de-sac. I rolled out of bed, pulled the curtains, and watched men in orange vests measure my yard like it belonged to them. I stepped outside in slippers and a t-shirt, and the woman in the navy coat was already there, clipboard in hand, smiling like she'd just won something. That smile didn't fit the sound of the chainsaw. My name's Ethan Cole. I moved to Maple Ridge because I wanted real quiet. The kind you can tasty, a place with porches and a mailbox you can bang on with a hammer and nobody calls the cops. There was an elm in the front yard, older than the house, older than the fence, older than the rumor mill that keeps neighborhoods sharp and small. My grandfather planted it when he came back from it doesn't matter where he came from, only that he planted it. That tree had a sun path and a bird path, and the way the light hit the porch in late September made me slow down. It was mine by habit and memory, and apparently, by law now, it was somebody else's problem. Marla Finch runs the Ridgeview Association like it's a boutique for other people's lives. She has rules in her purse and bylaws tucked behind a penny-pinching smile. We crossed paths at the HOA meeting, that civic theater where everyone claps politely and tries not to breathe too loud. She told me the elm was a hazard. I told her it wasn't. She pushed a stack of violation notices at me like playing cards, all formal and neat, heavy with someone else's authority. I invited her over for coffee and biscuits because that's how you used to settle things, and she declined with a look that said, "I have better things to do than drink your coffee." She had a plan, I had a tree. Somewhere between those, the neighborhood chose sides. For a while it was paperwork and passive aggression. Snapped photos left in my mailbox, anonymous posts on the community board, an engineer's note slipped under my door that said, "Inspect for root instability." I called an arborist who walked the yard with a white face and a clipboard and told me the elm was healthy roots deep. Canopy, Stedino, imminent danger. I saved his report in a folder and I started filming everything with my phone. Because when the script flips, you want more than your word. Marla's escalation had a rhythm: photos, petitions, neighbors who'd always been quiet now ready with facts they'd just remembered. Then, the week after, men started showing up in the pre-dawn shadows with a truck that didn't belong to any city crew. No permit taped to the windshield, no recognizable insignia. I stepped onto the porch and asked, "Who hired you?" And one of them shrugged like I'd asked for directions. "You sure you want to do this, Ethan?" Marla called from her spot by the truck, voice syrupy calm. "It's for the safety of everyone." The first cut glanced rain off the elm's bark, and the whole street inhaled the kind of intake you feel in your ribs. Saws ate the morning. Ropes creaked. Men shouted. Someone slipped and yelled a word that made the dog down the block howl. For a beat, I couldn't name whether I was moving or frozen, whether to grab my phone or my fists. The crown leaned. We all saw it, the way that great arc in the sky would decide where to fall. And then it did exactly what ironies do. It toppled straight toward Marla's porch. Would hit roof with a sound that knocked the breath clean out of 20 people. A hole gaped where her awning had been. Shingles flew like pages from a book. I stood on my lawn, phone in my hand, and filmed ruins. Cameras are cold witnesses, objective, hard. They don't comfort you. They don't stop your hands from trembling. But they do tell the truth in a way other people sometimes cannot. Police came. Fire came. Marla, red-faced and hollering about trespass, pointed fingers like arrows. "He made them do it," she shouted, and for a second the world slowed enough that I could hear the lies fold into themselves. The men from the truck muttered that I had cut the base evidence. They did not bring in the neighbor, who swore she'd seen me on the porch at dawn, changed her story twice between the first siren and the first cup of coffee. I had an arborist's report, a pile of email timestamps, a camera full of footage that showed men arriving before I had my shoes on. That's when the mess grew teeth and went to court. You get sued in ways that feel petty, enormous, absurd. Marla filed a claim against me for negligence and destruction of property. The Ridgeview Association sent a statement saying they were investigating, while trying not to be seen near any cameras. Lawyers have a way of turning a neighborhood argument into a legal opera: fees, motions, subpoenas. I learned words I never wanted to know, and I learned how to sleep in short chapters that tasted like anxiety. Courtrooms are oddly intimate, with fluorescent lights that make skin look honest and tired. The trial was small, no cameras allowed, just chairs and a judge who wore the patience of someone who sees people react the same small cruelties over and over. Marla sat with that exact same smile, but her hands trembled when the arborist from the county took the stand. He explained root patterns and wind vectors and the physics of falling trees in a voice that made the judge nod with a slow, almost relieved understanding. Then my footage played, grain and all, and the truck's license plate was clear as a bell. We had men testifying they'd been hired by someone with Marla's cell number on a contract that never had a permit filed. In court, she did what people do when their private narrative starts to fray. She got loud. He's always been a problem, she spat, and the room shifted because no, people don't enjoy public airing of small vendettas. Her witness, the neighbor whose memory had been as solid as a stone the week before, stumbled over dates until the judge frowned. Lawyers dance with facts, and truth, when cornered, sometimes takes a sharp breath and steps into the light. The verdict wasn't a movie crescendono gavel-smashed montage, but it was clean. Marla was found liable for property damage and for hiring an unlicensed crew to remove the elm. She was ordered to pay damages, to fund replacement trees, and to step down from certain HOA decision-making roles while an outside committee reviewed Ridgeview's processes. The judge's eyes lingered on the stump like it was an exhibit of something more than wooed-off pride, of misplaced power. The ruling felt, for a moment, like the neighborhood inhaling out a long-held breath. But court fixes some things and exposes others. Marla left the hearing with a set of orders and a look that promised she'd be back in other ways: petitions, appeals, gossip that seeds itself in new soil. The elm was gone, and the space it left had a hollowness that took time to fill. We planted 3 saplings down the road, because laws can mandate repairs, but they can't force people to rebuild memory. I put my hand on the one closest to the porch and felt the small green shoot trembling like a new idea promised that someone else will take the time to stand there years from now. The fallout was tenderness and bitterness and a lot of ordinary neighbor life that resumes with quiet heroics. A woman who baked pies for the guys who testified. A teenager who mowed my lawn for a month without asking for money. An older man who'd watched lots of courthouse dramas and said, "Kid, you did right by facts." People lined up on either side for a while. Some thought justice was served. Others said the system overreached. We are complicated like that. We want fairness, but we also want certainty that the person next door is the person we thought they were. I won't tell you I slept like a saint after that, because fear leaves tracks. I still wake sometimes and look at the empty patch where old light used to come in. There are nights I replay the chainsaw in my head, not to relive the violence, but to remind myself that there are moments you have to show up for, even when showing up feels smell: a phone, a report, a neighbor to call. Small things can be scaffolding for the truth. So where does this leave us? I live here still. The saplings are in their first stubborn year. Marla moved into a different street, same town, less confrontation, or perhaps she just wears a new kind of armor. The HOA had to rewrite rules about contractors and permits and communication, and people started leaving fewer anonymous notes in mailboxes. Or maybe they just got smarter about where they put their names. If there's anything I learned aside from how to read legal documents at 2 in the morning, it's that community is negotiable and fragile, and also worth the effort when it's real. You can laugh, you can cry, you can get furious, but without facts, you're just shouting into a cul-de-sac. Evidence is ugly and necessary, and sometimes it's the only thing that keeps a story from becoming someone else's version of the truth. Do you side with the neighbor who plants elms and keeps memories, or with the one who keeps the clipboards and bylaws? And if this were your yard, would you have filmed, or would you have stepped forward with a shovel? If you like this story, share it with someone who's had a neighbor from hell, or that person who thinks rules are always right.